I mean, I knew somebody who said to me, actually more than one person who said to me, a woman said, I was what they called a tomboy. If I was alive now and acted the way I did then, that's what they would have done to me.
Well, nobody's doing this to her.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
literally, nobody is doing this to her.
How old?
She is, or he is, either 8 or, I think 9.
Okay, then somebody is doing something, because 8 or 9-year-olds can't
what they're doing?
Can't do anything on their own.
No, they're buying them boys' clothes.
Well, then they're doing something. They're doing.
Sure, yes, you're right. They're buying them boys' clothes.
And telling them you're a boy now. Okay,
no, they're not telling them. They're just agreeing with. They're like going.
They're
okay,
agreeing
honey.
with an 8-year-old.
Bill Maher went head-to-head with this outspoken celebrity, and the clash quickly turned intense. It became clear almost immediately that David Cross hadn't spent much time watching Maher's show. If he had, he probably would have reconsidered stepping onto that stage armed with the same recycled woke arguments Maher has challenged countless times before. Maher countered nearly every point with sharp precision and confidence, clearly prepared for the debate from the start. But what exactly did Cross say that sparked Maher's fiery reaction? Let's break it all down.
You knew you weren't gay, right?
It's
not different.
It is different.
No, it isn't.
It's okay. Good luck with President Vance, because as I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost. And this is a case of that.
Wait, what?
We voted for the same person.
Right.
You're just why she lost. Because America hears this, and they're going to go, Bill's right. 8-year-olds can't really make decisions on their own like this.
Maher believes the Democratic Party's biggest problem came from pushing divisive cultural issues too aggressively, particularly on topics many voters viewed as disconnected from common sense and scientific reality. In his view, that growing frustration played a major role in Kamala Harris suffering a crushing election defeat. He also argues that these same controversies could potentially create a strong opportunity for J.D. Vance if he becomes the Republican nominee in the 2028 presidential race. According to Maher, many Americans once supported the Democratic Party's broader goals, but things changed when the party increasingly embraced far-left activism. He argues that voters eventually became frustrated with positions they felt were extreme or disconnected from everyday concerns, and that frustration ultimately showed up at the ballot box.
And this is where the Democrats are, with David Cross living in Brooklyn, with Mandami loving, and this is why we're going to vote for J.D. Vance, and that's
I don't think
that's
it's
America in a nutshell.
I don't.
Doesn't mean I don't love you.
Maher also warns that increasingly radical gender politics, combined with growing support for socialist ideas, could seriously damage Democrats in future elections. He argues that many Americans were already uncomfortable with debates surrounding biological sex and fairness in women's sports, and believes Democrats paid a heavy political price for refusing to address voter concerns. In Maher's view, most political parties would have adjusted course after such a major defeat. Instead, he believes Democrats doubled down on deeply unpopular positions while also drifting towards socialism, which he describes as politically toxic in modern American politics.
A Democratic congressman, I've had him on the show, I like him a lot, Seth Moulton from Massachusetts. He got a lot of attention at the end of the last election cycle because he was talking about the Democrats and they got their ass kicked in the election and so forth. And he said, they were talking about the trans issue, and he said, look, I don't want my 12-year-old daughter to be on the soccer field and be run over by someone who's identifying as a man, as a woman, but is really a boy. I don't want my daughter being run over. And a lot of people applauded him for that. I mean, we saw in the Olympics born a man, now fighting as a woman, boxer, just beat the dog shit out of a woman, the other boxer. A lot of people were disturbed by that. It's very disturbing to watch because it's a man beating the shit out of a woman.
At this point in the discussion, it was obvious Maher was beginning to take control of the conversation. Anyone familiar with his interview style could see where things were heading. Once again, it seemed clear that David Cross underestimated what he was walking into. Had he researched Maher more carefully, he might have avoided diving into one of the most explosive political debates in America today: eligibility rules in women's sports. For Maher, that subject became the perfect opening to aggressively challenge Cross's arguments one by one, using humor, sharp questioning, and relentless counterpoints.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become: a Portlandia sketch.
According to Maher, Democrats lost support because voters wanted change but never truly saw it. Many Americans had grown dissatisfied with the direction of the country under Joe Biden and hoped Kamala Harris would present herself as a fresh alternative. Instead, Maher argues she appeared tied closely to the existing administration, offering more continuity than transformation. Rather than creating distance from unpopular policies, she seemed committed to maintaining the same direction. For frustrated voters, that became a major problem. In the end, many Americans looked at the situation and concluded that continuing the same strategy would only produce the same outcome.
What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
Another growing issue, according to critics, is the Democratic Party's continued reliance on identity politics. Years ago, that strategy helped the party connect strongly with marginalized communities and build powerful coalitions. But today, many voters see it differently. Instead of focusing on shared national goals or economic priorities, critics argue the party now spends too much time dividing people by race, gender, or identity categories. For some voters, this approach feels less genuine and more like a political strategy designed to win elections rather than solve problems. As a result, frustration and skepticism have continued to grow.
Let's get this straight. It's not me who's changed. It's the left, who is now made up of a small contingent who've gone mental and a large contingent who refuse to call them out for it. But I will. That's why I'm a hero at Fox these days. Which shows just how much liberals have their head up their ass, because if they really thought about it, they would have made me a hero on their media. But
Maher's criticism has resonated with many conservatives because they see him voicing concerns they've raised for years. What makes his comment stand out is that he still identifies with many traditional liberal values, which gives his criticism added weight. However, Maher argues that the problem isn't the entire Democratic Party. In his view, a loud and influential minority has pushed the party toward increasingly extreme positions, while the broader party leadership has failed to push back strongly enough. That silence, he believes, has allowed those fringe views to define the party in the eyes of many voters.
A law for that? You have to inject yourselves into everything, from where you can throw a frisbee to who can braid hair? This is why so many people, by the way, were triggered by COVID policies. They were already sick of rules. Regulation should be a good issue for Democrats. It's certainly one they're associated with. And I think the average voter would agree that banks and chemical plants and drug companies need watching. Telling a company, you can't dump the waste from your hog farm straight into the water supply. We're mostly all for that. But Democrats have become a parody of themselves, just making rules to make rules because it makes you feel like you're a better person.
8. Another criticism frequently aimed at the left is the perception that it relies too heavily on rules, regulations, and ideological policing. Critics argue that politics increasingly feels less about opportunity and more about controlling behavior, speech, and even personal opinions. Maher believes this constant expansion of ideology into everyday life has become exhausting for many Americans. Instead of feeling represented, some voters feel pressured or managed. Over time, that frustration has pushed people away from the Democratic Party and toward alternatives that promise more freedom and independence.
But that's the great irony. Flag burning is free speech, and free speech is one of the key things that makes America great. So now that I have you on my side on that issue, don't be a hypocrite and defend attacks on speech from the left, because you either get the concept or you don't. And sadly, a lot of people don't anymore. Yes, mostly the young who were never taught it by their derelict educational system.
Maher has also expressed concern about what he sees as a growing hostility toward free speech on the left. Historically, liberals strongly defended open debate and freedom of expression. But Maher argues that culture has shifted, especially online, where controversial opinions are often met with aggressive backlash and public shaming. Social media platforms like X have amplified that environment, creating fear around speaking openly. According to Maher, this pressure discourages honest discussion and weakens the open exchange of ideas that once defined liberal intellectual culture.
And people who believe in social justice have agreed this is wrong and this is bad, and exposing kids to an adult world of lurid costumes and garish makeup borders on abuse. Now hurry up and get in the car. We're late for Drag Queen Story Hour. Not that there's anything wrong with being a drag queen, but maybe it's time to admit that sometimes Drag Queen Story Hour is more for the queen than the kids. Sure, kids love a clown, but does the clown have to have tits?
Taken together, these criticisms paint a picture of a political party struggling to reconnect with many everyday voters. From unpopular leadership and identity politics to free speech concerns and ideological rigidity, Maher argues that Democrats risk becoming increasingly disconnected from mainstream America. His critiques stand out because they come from someone viewed as part of the broader liberal world rather than a traditional conservative opponent. At the heart of his argument is the belief that voters want balance, practical solutions, open discussion, and common sense leadership instead of ideological extremes. Whether Democrats choose to adjust course or continue down the same path could shape the future of American politics for years to come.